We're back with another club review. Stay tuned to check out what's coming up next. Welcome back, everybody. We are back with another club review. Today we are doing the Mizuno
ES21 Wedge.
Glad you remembered.
Yep, new, brand new actually, coming out of Mizuno. They've done some pretty wild stuff with it. It is a very good looking wedge. Looking down at it, from the back of it,
It's chunky.
looks a little different. Yes, very chunky on
I like
the back.
the idea of this.
Very chunky game improvement looking on the back.
Yep.
But looking down at it, they've done a good job of hiding it. It disappears.
Which is always the key. I don't really care what a club looks like from the underside because I'm never going to look at it from that
Yep,
way.
absolutely.
Just pull it out of my bag. That's all I care about. So I care about top lines and all that other stuff. So we're going to do a better job of bringing you the actual tangible information produced by the company of how this club is designed. So that being said, Aaron's going to take over for a second and talk about the design of this guy.
Yeah, so first off, as you're looking at it, it's coming stock with the KBS, the high rev, the PVD black. So black wedge, black shaft on there, the PVD, it's kind of a cool look. Some of the stuff, you're seeing a lot of that come out of, especially KBS with their money tapers, their high revs, those things. You're getting that PVD look on it. So that's where you got stock option there. They go 54, 58, 50. Got a couple different bounces on there. And we will go through the whole gamut with all that stuff on there.
Sure.
And now let's talk a little bit about the specs of the golf club. So you've got what they call the spin central. So you see the little spot on the back of it. Looks kind of like a little wheel. It's a little dot on
Like
there.
a crash test dummy thingy on the side of their head.
Looks like a BMW symbol or something.
Or that.
So that right there, they've got a perfectly centered sweet spot. So it makes it easier to hit. It's supposed to be more consistent, making it a little bit more of a sure strike, longer contact, and the big thing that they're pushing with it is that you're getting more spin on your shorter, lower club speed shots. So like your chips and pitches, this is supposed to produce more spin, which is what everybody would kind of like to have. The ball is possibly not going to roll out as much. You can control it a little bit better. You can pick your spot to land it, and it doesn't just kind of release and roll all over the place.
Yeah, you see the tour guys do that a lot where they have those short little shots and they throw them close to the hole and you see a lot of check up all of a sudden.
Hit check.
They're trying to create that essentially from...
Other big thing that they've done is it's a hollow-bodied wedge. So it's made out of stainless steel, 431 stainless. It is hollow, and with that, they've got some deeper grooves, and they've got a little more vertical gearing effect on it. Again, helping out with that spin. So we're not getting the side spin off of it as much as we're getting top to bottom gearing on that. The heel and the toe. You got a little bit of a high toe, a little bit of a low heel, so it's making it way more stable. They're trying to make it more stable on your open face shot, so you can kind of lay it open and you're not getting that super high leading edge, that kind of stuff. Grooves on it, so they're CNC milled grooves, they're cut into it. And then the other kind of thing is something new. They've got what they're calling their hydro flow micro grooves. So they've lasered in micro grooves on it. And that is supposed to, whenever the face gets wet, that's supposed to disperse the water across the face, possibly to help it dry a little faster.
It's tire tread.
Yes, that's exactly what it's doing right there. So you've got, the club face gets wet. You don't have water sitting all over it. It's supposed to be releasing, kind of dispersing that water on there.
I.e. for like dewy situations or stuff like that. That's really what they're gearing that towards, not necessarily you playing golf in a downpour.
Yes, yeah. All you dew sweepers getting out there in the morning, good wedge for you.
What's dew?
I don't know because I don't play that early in the morning.
Exactly.
I'm not out there.
There's no dew
So
at
you've
3 in the
got got two options on the soles. You got a standard and you got a wide sole options. Just looking for more spin, more consistency. You can switch your options there on the soles. Okay, so going back, I have to apologize.
No, you don't.
So your loft options are a 62 all the way down to a 54.
All right, and so for our testing purposes, we are using the 5408. Now, is there two 5408s with the bounce? I know like other manufacturers.
Yes, so you have the two sole options.
Okay.
That's the standard. That's not the wide sole.
So we're using the standard sole option in the 5408.
Correct.
And we are comparing this to my Honma T-World Wedge, which is a 54
as well. Going to hit about 3 or 4 shots with it. What we're really looking at is to see if it is going to do, you know, slip on that one, if it's really going to do what it says it's going to do. So we're going to be hitting some short kind of pitch shots, call it 15 yards, 20 yards, 30 yards, 5 yards, and seeing if we see more spin out of the Mizuno than we do out of just kind of the classic forged Honma wedge.
And if you're doing this comparison on your own facility or home or whatever, just remember this is a brand new wedge. That is an almost brand new wedge. That wedge has only been in my bag for about 3 weeks now, and I don't get to play very often. So grooves are pretty fresh on that. So I would say that you're going to see a more drastic comparison if you've got a wedge you maybe had in the bag for a year or two.
For a while. Yep,
versus something new, and that's just standard across any wedges. So
let me see. Now here's going to be the big thing. How consistently can I hit a shot?
So, and we are going to tag both of these, and we'll put some of these stats on the screen for you to have a comparison.
Getting pretty close, within a yard.
Yep.
Maybe a little bit longer. Yep.
Not as much.
Club speeds.
So he's hitting at about 40 yards. He's got a plus or minus of a 0.8 of a yard. So about 2 feet, give or take. I guess that's all right.
Fairly consistent.
And I will say that probably going to have Aaron just swing 2 different types of things here. So we're going to switch him out to...
So these are kind of little halfy pitch shots.
Yep.
You know, everything like I said, we're going, call it 40 yards.
So yeah, your plus or minus is pretty solid there. So let's go ahead and switch you out. We are switched out to the Mizuno now. We're still just hitting those little 40 yard shots, give or take. We are looking at carry. We have total up there.
Yeah, just kind of seeing rollout on that.
Yeah, we care more about the carry.
Anytime you're hitting irons, carry is what matters. So again, looking at spin, the graphics are down there, averaging 57.31 with the Honma.
You catch that a little heavy?
I did.
Okay.
That was a little chunky.
So that's what I was about to ask. So the biggest claim here is that spin rate's going to go up. Right now we're going down.
Both of those have been a little heavy.
Okay.
That was a little heavy as well.
Yeah, so this was actually one of my kind of concerns initially, and I didn't say that out loud off camera or on camera yet, but you know, because even for a skinnier sole of the two, it's still a pretty thick sole.
Okay, there's a clip.
Yeah, I just don't. Here's one of my biggest hesitations on a manufacturer, and I'm not trying to just necessarily blast Mizuno, but is when you're talking about these small shots, to say you're going to get more spin is a really, really, really drastic claim because the club head's just physically not moving enough.
Speed. Yep.
Right. So speed creates spin.
Yep.
You know, like let's use a bunker shot as a kind of an analogy of, you know, if you need a ball to go further, you know, when you're hitting a bunker shot, you're not necessarily clipping the ball, you're using the sand to propel the ball out. But that's why you have to hit a shot.
There was one basically right in the center of it. I mean,
it's still less.
Still less.
Than the Honma. Now, we're not saying this is a comparison to this specific club and kind of our thoughts on that. So, again, not saying that you're going to go out and maybe you've got a Vokey, like an SM4, SM5, that's you've had in your bag for years.
And this isn't going to spin more. Yeah.
You might not go out. We're comparing 2 almost brand new wedges. And there's a reason why we wanted to do that, to see how good the claim actually was.
And I will say this, that
it's consistent.
It's consistent, but I also just, again, comparing that wedge to this wedge, just feeling that, like I don't know if it's the hollow body or what it is, but I find myself and I feel like I'm hitting all these a little bit
just
heavier.
A little heavy.
I think the thickness of the sole, the thickness of the body, I mean the wedge, just looking down at it, it looks just like a normal wedge. It's got a little sharper, higher toe, which we said that, and you'll see it in the pictures. But
All right, so now we're going to have Aaron hit more of a full swing shot. No, not full, but obviously a full rotation. So club head speed about 75 miles an hour, ball speed 77. So we're looking for about a 90-yard carry.
Oh, a little toe pull.
Yeah. Very first spin, there it goes. The very first spin was around 10,000 RPMs. Obviously that one you kind of mishit, so it dropped to 52. There you go.
That's what I would expect somewhere in there, 995, something like that.
And I'm still in that same ballpark with this particular club. Again, we're hitting essentially a slightly de-lofted version of a sand wedge. Most sand wedges in the market are going to be 56 or 54 with more emphasis on the 56.
Yeah,
give it one more just to kind of try and get that average a little closer together. That one miss hit in the beginning kind of messed it up a little bit. Weak. Well, that'll offset the two.
Yep.
All right, let's flip them back out.
Okay.
All right, so back to the Mizuno. So again, it should spin more. So you were averaging, we're going to say 8. Realistically, we were getting about 9.2, 9.3.
Yeah.
I know on the averages that we're going to post, it's going to say closer to 88, 100 RPMs, but we had a couple of thin shots there. This is where I think you might actually see some of those claims start to come true.
Yeah.
And again, it's just a little less. That's such a crazy thing. So Aaron, while we're
that one's skinny.
going through the spins here,
well,
I was about to say,
I'll say this, that I just hit that one thin, like what I felt like my second shot with that was, and it did spin more.
Sure. So how does it feel? Because again, this is a hollow body wedge, which is a new thing. Hollow body clubs have been the rage lately, i.e. PXG, P790s from TaylorMade, that kind of club. And then the Honma is not. It's a forged
I mean, I'll say it does feel solid.
Okay.
It doesn't feel clanky or clunky or anything like I would kind of expect to feel with a hollow body. Or that awkward
noise, like the original P790 hollow body kind of had that funky noise to it.
That one was thin also.
So right out of the gates, just from, again, you're the one hitting the shots, but from my point of view, what I'm seeing is less spin on the low chip shots, which is the claim is that it has more spin.
More spin.
And then on the full swing shot, it's just slightly less spin. You were closer to 90, 94, 95,000.
I'll say this for it, that it is extremely consistent.
Right. And I think that's where, when we talk about reviewing clubs, and we've had some comments on both of our channels, so we're trying to go a little more in depth technically with some of these. If you hit both clubs absolutely perfect on the screws, it doesn't necessarily do what they're saying it should do. At least that's what we're finding.
Correct. On the spin.
Against the Honma. Right.
Yes.
And that's all we've been comparing it to. But what I'm noticing is when you mishit this wedge, the Honma wedge, it is a little less consistent.
Correct.
And your spin obviously dives pretty hard. But on the Mizuno, what's happening is when because you thinned a couple, and the spin came out at 92 and then 94, I believe, on the two mishits you had. So I think that your mishits are going to be way better.
Yes. So touching on that vertical gearing stuff.
Yep.
So just we can pull up the dispersion now. Again, just me right here, but I definitely have hit this Mizuno a whole lot straighter down the line than what the other one was. If you hit show all up there in the top left, okay?
So the yellow is the Mizuno.
On the
chip,
shot.
sorry, yep. The Honma is the white, the yellow is the Mizuno. And then on the full length shots that were landing around 90 yards,
the Honma is the purple and the Mizuno is the teal color up there.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I've definitely hit it straighter.
Yeah, I'd say that you were, I'm going to take it with a grain of salt on the chips because obviously there's some room for error there. You hit a couple fat, getting used to it. I think, we talk a lot about who this club is for. I wouldn't necessarily put this in a player's hand. A good player's hand, sorry. I wouldn't necessarily put this in a tour player or scratch player.
Correct.
hand. I just think that it's almost too forgiving and you lose some ability to hit some types of shots.
Yep.
I can't imagine hitting a lofted shot on that's going to be very easy.
No, and I think this thing is meant for it not to be, you know, I did touch on the high toe and the low heel to be able to open it up, but not a lot of people should really be throwing this thing wide open anyway. It's meant to get the ball up. It's meant to have spin. We haven't seen a whole bunch of it, but then again, also, I don't know at a even slower club head speed, somebody that has a slow club head speed, that this doesn't produce, this may produce more spin with your higher handicap, lower club head speed.
Because your club head speed's been averaging on the higher, the longer shots, you've been around, well, move your head. You've been around 77.5 miles an hour. So the question there is, but I can't imagine that that's going to translate to more spin. I don't, because we didn't see it on the low side either.
That's true. Yeah.
And so I just, you know, as far as the claim of more spin,
yeah, I don't know.
but now that being said, it might create more spin for more off-centered hits. So if you start to toe a couple with this, no, you're not. It's going to dive quick.
Yeah,
but
that's
with that,
exactly like the
might maintain it.
The couple of thin shots that I hit.
Yep.
Yes, 100%. It held its claim to holding more spin on some thinner shots than a classic forged wedge.
Yeah, and in six shots, which were more of the full swing, which was really wasn't a completely full swing for you. Your spin rate, your plus or minus is only 61 RPMs, which is insane.
Yeah,
anything in double digits is pretty impressive.
That's a wildly consistent thing.
On spin.
On spin, yes, correct.
Not so much with yards, but
yeah. But so here we go.
Better players, if you like the Mizuno wedges, and we have another video for the Mizuno T20.
Yes, yeah.
I think that is going to be your advanced players,
classic,
scratch players.
Yep.
I think that's that wedge, and it felt great. I think that's if you're a better player, let's say like maybe a 5 or 8 handicap or below, that's probably where you want to be looking.
Correct.
If you're above that, or maybe you struggle with the consistency of your short game, I know that when we're teaching, especially myself, that's probably the one area of most people's games that we can pick up the most strokes gained.
Yeah, very easily.
You hear that term, is that under 100 yards, but not necessarily putting. Because a lot of guys practice putting, a lot of guys practice full swing, but it's these shots that they really don't practice.
70, 80, 60, 40 yard shots.
And from that, again, just looking at those 90-ish yard shots you were hitting there, just, at the Honma, you had a tendency to pull a few, whereas that, that Mizuno, they're right there nice and tight.
Yeah.
It'll get a lot closer than that.
Yeah. So, I mean, I would definitely say that you're a little bit higher handicap players, like this is forgiving, but it's not kind of a, lack of a better term, like a gross feeling forgiving club. Like it does feel solid. Like it feels good.
Doesn't feel like the chippers?
No, it's not a putter chipper by any means. But it sounds good. It doesn't sound clicky, hollow, anything like that. I would, definitely it's in the class with the Cleveland has their CBX series, that kind of thicker soled series, and maybe if you are struggling, bunkers, things like that, hey, grab the wide soled 54, 56, or 58, something like that, and use that out of the bunkers. So with all that being said, like Ryan had covered on that, I mean, a little more forgiving, thinner shots, still holding some spin, but for us, is it truly showing to be like, I'm getting a lot more spin out of this than I would out of that?
Actually getting less. Actually.
Yeah, not necessarily.
And again, take that with a grain of salt. I think the biggest important thing here that we can't stress enough is going to be, if you've had wedges in the bag for year or years and you've got over 100 rounds on them, you're going to get more spin with this right out of the bag than anything else.
Yep.
You're going to get more spin with anything new right out of the box.
Coming out sharp. Yeah, right. Exactly. So cool. So we talked about the type of player it goes to. It goes that mid to higher handicapper. What does it do feel-wise? It feels good. We got the look on it. Just not necessarily are we seeing more spin out of it, which is their claim. Still a good wedge. Still looks good. Feels good. But don't expect to get this and then all of a sudden start hitting 5-foot ripbacks from right off the green.
Nope, absolutely not. So
cool. So thank you all for checking in. Mizuno ES21 Wedge. Go check it out. It's a cool look. Feels good. Go see for yourself. See if you see the same stuff.
Yep. If you have another wedge that you'd like us to review, please make sure to drop us a comment below. and do us a favor and subscribe to the channels. We would appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you all for checking in.
See you later.